What is going on, guys? Gustavo right here, and today we're going to be showing you the very first image that has surfaced the internet. I know it's very small, but I'm going to show you in just a moment, of the Sony A7C. Let's actually talk about everything that this picture tells us coming right up. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's start right here. And if you're new to this place, I'm a photographer from Miami, Florida. I do gear reviews, tutorials, behind the scene. I've been covering a lot of rumors. So if you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. Also enable notifications for more content like this one. So I'm gonna populate this image so you guys can actually see this camera. And let's actually talk about the story that this picture is telling us, because right off the bat, we can actually tell that this camera is going to have a smaller body, and if indeed it's going to be a full frame body, this one is going to have a body like the A6600, actually like the A6400. And why I say actually? Well, I actually own both cameras. The A6400 sits right there, and the A6600 is actually filming me right now. But if you're familiar with both cameras, one of the things that actually separates them apart is the grip. And this camera seems to have a grip similar to the A6400, not the grip similar to the A6600. What I mean by this is that the one on the A6600 actually protrudes forward even more. So it's not, that straight. It's a little bit more like on a curvature like that. So this is telling me that perhaps the Sony A7C is going to have the smaller battery, not the LPFZ100 battery, which is the bigger battery. So we've been covering in the rumors that we were gonna see the big battery, right? But unless this is an optical illusion or Sony managed to fit a battery there in a smaller place, it looks like we're gonna have the smaller battery in this camera, and I hope I'm wrong, because if the price is actually expensive and the camera has poor battery life, this could be a disaster. Now let's talk about some of the features that we can see on the camera right now. And the first thing that sticks out to me is that this camera, has been oriented to video, right? We don't have the custom buttons that we have on most, A6000 cameras at the front, right behind the shutter release button, and instead we have a dedicated movie record button. We've seen that in the ZV-1. We've seen this as well on the A7S3. Now, when it comes to the function dial, it looks like it's actually the same. I can actually tell that they have switched the manual mode from photo, the movie mode, and the S&Q one next to the other, which it makes a lot of sense, which in some of the older cameras, they are all over the place. So good call there. Now, the exposure compensation button seems to be in the same place right there. And the other thing that we can tell is that we are gonna have an EVF. Now, the EVF looks exactly the same as the one on the A6600, and we're gonna have also a hot shoe mount right there. That seems to be shifted a little bit towards the center of the camera. Now, one of the things that I was hoping that we were gonna see in this camera, the same 3-capsule microphone that we actually had in the ZV-1. And in this case, we don't have that, probably because of the hot shoe mount. But, if this is gonna be a vlogging camera, probably that would have been a great feature to add to this camera. Even though I don't think the 3-capsule microphone of the ZV-1 is actually an excellent microphone, I think it's a little bit better than what you may find on the A6600, for example. But a little bit better when you're trying to minimize gear. It's actually really, really handy. And that was another plane. So let's talk about something else about this camera. Now, we can see that this camera also has, those stickers that is covering all the codes. But remember that we mentioned that this camera was gonna come in black and gray, and this is what we can tell right here. This one seems to be the gray, or the camera is actually dual tone, because it looks like it is gray at the top, and it is actually black at the bottom. I don't know if that's what the rumor mean, that the camera was going to be all black and maybe dual tone, kind of like Fuji, for example. They do that on some of the cameras. All right, so let's talk about the lens, because also we've been talking about this pancake style zoom lens, and definitely we can see it here. I mean, I don't consider this being too pancakes, a little bit larger than average, but definitely it's a small lens for being a full frame lens. Now we can tell the aperture and the focal length right here, so let's talk about that right now. It says that the focal length of this lens is going to be 20 to 60 millimeters, and the aperture we're talking about 4 to 5.6. Now, for aperture, I can live with that on a full frame camera, but one of the things I think where Sony missed the mark is actually in the focal length. 28mm to 60mm, it doesn't cut it for me. First of all, 24mm is not wide enough for vlogging in my opinion, especially when you have a heavy camera, you know, like a larger camera, like a full frame camera, not like a pocket camera. You tend to actually put your arm like this, because the more you stretch the arm, you know, the more you feel in the shoulder and everywhere else. So I think that the priority for this lens should have been to at least be, you know, a 16 or 20mm minimal. I mean, at least. I know that there may be some optical challenges, you know, making a tiny lens, but I think that if this camera was gonna be intended for vloggers, Sony could have developed maybe a 16mm f2.8, and people would have been, you know, really happy with this full frame camera. I think that most people are gonna buy just the body and then they're gonna put their full frame lenses. But once again, you know, once you start putting those nice full frame glass, you know, the 20mm f1.8 is a great, you know, piece of lens. That lens is almost $900. I think that, you know, that lens is gonna look really nice in this setup. But another thing that we don't see here is the flip out screen. We don't know if it also has the touchscreen capability that has been rumored, but I'm assuming that we're gonna see more images, you know, with a flip out screen, and pretty much the rumor may be spot on. Now, in terms of video, we're still speculating that this camera is gonna do 4K 30p at 10-bit 422 internal, and that this camera is gonna have only one SD card. So we're gonna be reporting about this, guys, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. You know, leave your comments, let me know what you think about this camera. Are you excited about what you're seeing right now? I mean, does that gonna make you spend over $2,000 in a smaller compact vlogging camera? Let me know in the comments down below, guys, and as always, subscribe to the channel for more content like this one. I'll see you in the next one.